Welcome to the Sportscast, June 5th, 2018. If you haven't yet, please subscribe on YouTube or on iTunes. And if you're on iTunes, please leave a review so people can find us a lot easier and we could be placed in the rankings. NBA Finals got off to a 2-0 start by the Golden State Warriors. Game 1, Golden State won in overtime. And on Game 2, the Warriors beat the Cavaliers 122 to the Cavaliers 103. And on the line, we got Ryan Christa. Welcome to the Sportscast.
Hey, Santiago, it's good to be back talking a little NBA Finals with you.
And we'll get to NHL afterwards. So far, the series has gone up 2-0. Are you surprised, or this is how it's how you envision that it will happen?
Am I surprised? No, but I was hoping the Cavs would steal a game in Oakland here the last couple of games. But, Game 1 was their game. They battled. They played their butts off. They went shot for shot with the Warriors. And the unfortunate circumstances, they missed some opportunities, things just didn't go their way, and then they just didn't have it in overtime. And then Game 2, the Warriors, played up to their potential. If they play their best, the Cavs aren't gonna have a hard time playing with them. Steph Curry, especially in the fourth quarter, really closed the door on the Cavs with his outside shooting, ended up with a NBA Finals record 9 3-pointers in that game. But teams are heading back to Cleveland, where the Cavs have played really well this postseason. The Warriors typically don't shoot as well on the road as they do at home, so this could be an opportunity for the Cavs to, get some momentum, and, they got to win both games, I think, in Cleveland to have a chance at the series, but, definitely got to start with Game 3 on Wednesday.
LeBron James had 50 points in Game 1. And in Game 2, he had 29 points. Kevin Love had 22. Tristan Thompson had 11. George Hill had 15. And J.R. Smith had 5. Now, that mistake that J.R. Smith did in Game 1, do you think – I've heard he's done that before with the Knicks. Do you think they could have won that game if Smith looked up to the scoreboard?
Yeah, he would have given him opportunity. Whenever you get a rebound, and a missed free throw, you have a very good chance of, going right back up just because the natural position of rebounding the ball there. You have 4 seconds, if you take a shot, you probably even get a second shot, We'll never know, I guess, If George Hill makes that free throw, you put a lot, so, there's a lot of criticism, which is, the point of one play, and, the 48-minute basketball game is tough, but it was one of the craziest, mind-boggling plays I've seen, not just in basketball, but in sports history. For a professional athlete not to know the situation, and not just in a game, but in NBA Finals, is kind of crazy and ridiculous, but, I'm sure, the Cavs as a team, it came down to more than just that one play.
That trade that happened with Cleveland back in the midseason, trade a bunch of the old players out and bring in the young players. None of those trade people that came into Cleveland hasn't worked out, hasn't panned out. They're all on the bench. Rodney Hood even said that he had to look at videos back when he was in Utah, see how he played. Do you think Cleveland would have been different if they had Dwayne Wade on the roster?
No, I don't think they'd be in any better shape. I don't think, getting the NBA Finals still quite an accomplishment. That trade was was actually, a couple different trades they made that. And I was excited, they got some pieces, some young pieces. Clarkson's still relatively young. Larry Nance is a great athlete, and I thought he played an amazing Game 1. Was one of the key factors in keeping the Cavaliers close, in that game. And George Hill, he's never going to be superstar, but, he actually gave him a fighting chance in Game 2 for a while and kept them in it, but, he's not going to be ever a difference maker in a game, that's for sure. And then the Rodney Hood is just kind of, it's just bizarre, you know. This guy averaged, 17 points a game for the Jazz this year, comes over and for whatever reason he doesn't find his rhythm, he's can't play defense, it's just kind of, head scratching for sure. There's been several moments when I'm watching this game and I'm saying, if I'm coaching, why am I not playing Tyronn Lue? Because we can, the Cavs can't get a basket here, and you got a shot maker on the bench, you got to give him a shot, but, and that, I guess, Tyronn Lue's earned the right to make his own decisions.
Golden State, the box score for Game 2 was Durant had 26 points, McGee had 12, Klay Thompson had 20, Steph Curry had 33, and Sean Livingston had 10. Curry stepped up this game. Is probably his best game this postseason. Do you think Curry might be, if they win it, Curry might get his MVP for the first time in the finals?
Oh yeah, if things go the way they're going, it's, I think, a slam dunk. He's had a hard time being consistent at the shots since he came back. But I think Game 6 and 7 and against Houston, he started to really, find a little bit of rhythm. But he definitely, he caught fire in that leading up to Game 2. And if things don't change, he's definitely gonna carry the Warriors to probably a sweep and definitely an MVP.
To the NHL, the Capitals are up 3-1 in the series. They beat the Golden Knights last night 6-2. Do you think the Capitals are going to win this?
The Capitals, with Alex Ovechkin, have been fighting for this moment for years and years and years. And after they lost Game 7 to the Penguins, there's a lot of hockey, writers and, contributors that really thought they were going to break up this whole team, and including Alex Ovechkin, and just say, we got to start fresh. But, the owner and GM, they still believed in what they got, and this year, watching the Capitals, there's a different feel to this team. There's a lot more unity to this team. There's, this team fights, they got a little more grit. You can't say that always about the Capitals. They seem, when things go bad, to fall apart. But this team, when their backs against the wall, has come up big in this playoffs, not just against the Knights, but also, they fell behind 3-2 to the Lightning, won the last 2 games. For many years, they couldn't get getting over the hump and beating Sidney Crosby and Penguins, and they did that this year. So this team's achieved a lot. As a fan of sports, I hope that, Vegas can steal a couple games here and at least make this interesting. But, in the end, I do think the Capitals will finally hoist that cup that they've been wanting.
Down to college football or MLB draft, Sooners quarterback Murray was chosen number 9 in the Major League Baseball draft. What do you think about that?
This is something it kind of got on my radar about a month ago, and when I first heard about this, some, college, football analysts that caught wind of this, and kind of brought it to the forefront about a month and a half ago, and all signs are pointing to him being more of a late first-round pick, early second round, so you're dealing with, $1 to $2 million signing bonus. But now being drafted number 9, this is a whole new story, Santiago. We're looking at up towards about $5 million in the signing bonus for this spot. That's a lot of money to be put on the table if he goes out and plays football. I'm not quite sure if he's got a deal with the A's. He came out right away after the draft and said, he wants to continue playing football at least this year. He's got 2 years of eligibility left for football, but he definitely wants to play this year. And I don't know if he had talked to the A's, where he made his intentions known to them that if you draft me, I'm still going to play football. The A's representative last night said, we're all on board. We're going to be the biggest Oklahoma football fan. So it seems to be that Colin Murray right now seems to be wanting to play football, but I'm assuming that one bad injury and that contract's off the table, and he's losing out on a lot of money.
We'll see what happens. And yesterday, San Francisco's 49ers great Dwight Clark dies at age 61, two-time Super Bowl champion. Any memories from him?
Most of his prime was well before my football viewingship, really started, as a young kid. But, he is, one of the, players in the one of the iconic NFL plays, we call it the catch, where Joe Montana basically threw up the ball to the back of the end zone, and Dwight Clark comes out of, nowhere and catches the ball for a touchdown against the Cowboys and leads them on to their first Super Bowl championship. First of many with Joe Montana, is the guy that, in the NFL right now, we only have 7 rounds, but back then he was a 10th round pick. He only had 11 catches in his senior year in college, so he didn't do much before the NFL, but he was a 2-time Pro Bowler, and I believe in '82 he led the NFL in reception. So, but an all-around, ambassador of football, ambassador for, living a full life, a lot of people have many great things to say about Dwight Clark.
And random question, who would you rather take, Jason Elam or Adam Vinatieri?
Well, Santiago, being a Broncos fan, I got to take Jason Elam, right?
But who had more under pressure, game-winning kicks?
Well, Adam Vinatieri has kicked some of the most clutch kicks. They might seem routine. Some of the Super Bowl kicks weren't crazy long, but I think the greatest kick in NFL history was after the legendary Tuck rule fumble. He had a kick, an extremely long kick in a snowstorm in New England, that thing against the Oakland Raiders, I think that is the greatest kick in NFL history. It's, the circumstances, what it was for, that was kind of like the kick, we have the catch with Dwight Clark. That was, to me, is the kick. And that kind of was the catalyst starting this Patriots dynasty. If the Raiders win that game, maybe the Patriots never get get going, but we'll never know. But, in all fairness, Adam Vinatieri, it'll probably go down as the most clutch kicker in NFL history. Obviously, I got much love for Jason Elam and what he meant for the Broncos and Broncos organization for many years. And, he definitely took advantage of that thin Rocky Mountain air for sure.
There you go. I'm an Adam Vinatieri, but Jason Elam is definitely one of the best kickers in history of the NFL, and I hope they don't get rid of the kicking game. There's been rumors about getting rid of kickoffs.
Santiago, what's your first thought when you hear the word Mike Vanderjagt?
Mike Vanderjagt. I honestly don't know who he is.
He was a famous kicker for the Colts, who was one of I think sort of the most accurate kicker in NFL history. But he was always known for being the most unclutch kicker. He always kind of spouted his mouth, and famously known as the idiot kicker that Peyton Manning refers to in a post-game interview.
Oh, that's quite interesting. And speaking about Peyton Manning, Vinatieri kicked for both Brady and Peyton Manning. Yeah.
That's a plus of being a kicker. You can really have a long career.
Exactly. So who do you have for tomorrow night, Wednesday, the Warriors at Cleveland Cavaliers? Who takes Game 3?
I'm going for the Cavs, Santiago. Maybe for my heart, not my brains, but I'm not ready for the NBA to be over, and I'm a big LBJ fan, and I hope he comes and brings another great game tomorrow night.
It is a must-win for Cleveland, and if Cleveland if they have to have a chance in the series, they got to win Game 3.
Absolutely, no doubt about that, Santiago.
And on June 7th, Capitals at the Golden Knights. Will the Golden Knights come back, or will the Caps win their Stanley Cup? trophy.
I think they go back at least for Game 6 in Washington. So I think the Vegas Knights win Game 5.
And there you have it. Ryan, how can people reach you?
Twitter, the Mad Dog Report, 18, and Ryan Christa, always tweeting their Facebook and some sports knowledge there.
There you go. NFL's coming up in a couple weeks. Mini camps are beginning. NBA is coming to its pivotal, its climax. NHL is getting exciting, and I think the PGA Tour is still going on.
Yeah, you got with golf regards, you got the next weekend is the U.S. Open, so see if Tiger can finally get another major victory.
All points, all signs point for Tiger Woods. Ryan, thanks for coming on to the Sportscast.
Sounds good. Thanks, Santiago, for having me.